Imagine, if you will, absolute nothingness. Not darkness, because darkness implies the absence of light, and light hadn't been conceived yet. Not silenced, because silence suggests the potential for sound, and sound had no stage upon which to perform. Not emptiness, because even emptiness requires space, and space itself was but an unborn dream. We're talking about something so profound, so incomprehensible to our finite minds, that language itself becomes inadequate. We're talking about the state before existence existed. Now, here's where it gets mind-bending. How does nothing become something? How does non-existence suddenly burst into existence? How does the absence of everything transform into the presence of, well, everything we know, see, touch, and are? This isn't just an academic exercise, my friend. This is the most fundamental question that has ever haunted human consciousness. It's the question that kept ancient philosophers awake at night, that drives modern physicists to the edges of theoretical mathematics, and that whispers in the quiet moments of every human heart. Why is there something rather than nothing? The book of Genesis opens not with a gentle suggestion or a tentative hypothesis, but with the most audacious statement ever recorded. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. 10 words in English, 10 words that attempt to explain the unexplainable, 10 words that bridge the infinite gap between non-existence and existence. But here's what's absolutely staggering about this opening verse. It doesn't try to prove God's existence. It doesn't build an argument. It doesn't present evidence. It simply states, with the confidence of absolute truth, that before anything was, God was, and from his being, everything else came to be. Think about the philosophical implications of this for just a moment. If Genesis is correct, then existence itself is not a random accident or a cosmic lottery ticket that happened to come up winning numbers. Existence is intentional. It's purposeful. It's the direct result of a conscious, creative will. The Hebrew word used here for created is bara, word that appears throughout the Old Testament and is used exclusively to describe divine action. When humans make something, we rearrange existing materials. We take clay and shape it into pottery. We take wood and carve it into furniture. We take ideas and arrange them into symphonies or novels. But bara suggests something entirely different. It suggests creation, ex nihilo creation, from nothing. It suggests the power to speak reality into existence. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. Here we encounter one of the most mysterious verses in all of Scripture. The earth exists, but it's formless and empty. The Hebrew words, tahu abau, suggests not just emptiness, but chaos, confusion, a state of potential waiting to be acted. It's as if the canvas has been prepared, but the masterpiece hasn't yet begun. But notice something crucial. Even in this state of chaos, God is present. The Spirit of God, the Hebrew ruach, Elohim, is hovering, brooding, moving over the waters, like an artist contemplating a blank canvas, like a composer hearing the first notes of an unwritten symphony. The Spirit of God is present in the potential, active in the seeming inactivity. This raises profound questions about the nature of creation itself. Is chaos the enemy of God? Or is chaos simply the raw material of divine creativity? Does God create despite the chaos? Or does God create through the chaos? The text suggests something remarkable, that even in the formless void, God's presence brings order, purpose, and potential. But don't let the ancient cosmological language distract you from the profound principle being established here. God creates by separation, by establishing boundaries, by creating spaces where different kinds of existence can flourish. This act of separation is fundamentally creative. By establishing boundaries, God creates possibility. Without the separation of waters, there could be no sky, no weather systems, no atmospheric pressure, no breathable air. The firmament creates the conditions within which life itself will become possible. From a philosophical perspective, this divine act of separation reveals something crucial about the nature of creation itself. Creation is not just addition, it's differentiation. God doesn't just add new things to existence. He creates categories, distinctions, and relationships that make meaningful existence possible. The firmament represents the principle of order that makes diversity possible. Without boundaries, everything would be chaos. Without distinctions, nothing could be identified, understood, or appreciated. God creates not by homogenizing, but by diversifying. Not by reducing everything to sameness, but by establishing the differences that make relationship, interaction, and meaningful existence possible. And God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let dry ground appear," and it was so. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. The third day brings another act of divine separation, and with it, something absolutely essential for everything that follows. The creation of environments, not just matter, not just space, but specific environments where different forms of life can exist and thrive. Here's what's remarkable. God doesn't create life yet. He creates the conditions for life. He prepares the stage before the actors appear. This reveals something profound about divine creativity. It's not impulsive or haphazard. It's purposeful, preparatory, and perfectly timed. The separation of land and sea creates the fundamental geographical framework within which the entire drama of terrestrial life will unfold. Coastlines, where water meets land, become the most biologically diverse environments on the planet. Mountain ranges create weather patterns. Rivers create fertile valleys. Each geographical feature contributes to the complex, interconnected system that will support life in all its magnificent diversity. But notice something crucial. God names what he creates. Land and seas aren't just convenient labels, they're divine designations that establish the essential nature and purpose of these realities. In Hebrew thought, naming something doesn't just identify it. Naming something establishes its character, its role, its significance in the cosmic order. Then God said, "Let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds." And it was so. Still on the third day, after establishing the fundamental geography of the earth, God creates the first living things, plants. But notice the specific language here. God doesn't directly create each individual plant. Instead, he commands the earth itself to produce vegetation. This is absolutely fascinating from both theological and scientific perspectives. God establishes the principle of productivity within creation itself. The earth becomes a participant in the creative process. This isn't mechanical production, it's organic creativity, where creation itself becomes creative. The phrase, "according to their various kinds," introduces another crucial principle: diversity within order. God doesn't create just one type of plant. He creates the framework within which countless varieties of plant life can exist, each according to its kind, each perfectly suited to its environment and function. The emphasis on seed-bearing plants introduces the principle of reproduction, of continuity through time, of the ability of life to perpetuate and multiply itself. This is the first hint of the incredible fertility and productivity that will characterize God's creation. From a philosophical standpoint, the creation of plant life represents the introduction of biological complexity into the physical universe. Plants bridge the gap between non-living matter and the more complex forms of life that will follow. They transform sunlight into energy, carbon dioxide into oxygen, simple minerals into complex organic compounds. They become the foundation upon which all other terrestrial life will depend. And God said, "Let there be lights in the vault of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark sacred times, and days and years, and let them be lights in the vault of the sky to give light on the earth." And it was so. The fourth day brings one of the most fascinating acts in the entire creation account: the creation of the sun, moon, and stars. But here's what's mind-bending about the timing. God creates light on the first day, but he doesn't create the sun until the fourth day. What kind of light existed for the first 3 days? This question has puzzled theologians and biblical scholars for millennia. Some suggest that God himself was the source of light. During those first 3 days, the divine glory itself provided the illumination necessary for the distinction between day and night. From a theological standpoint, This pre-creative state represents something far more significant than mere emptiness. It represents the moment before intention becomes action, before thought becomes reality, before the eternal enters time. It's the pregnant pause before the symphony of existence begins to play. And then it happens. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. 3 Hebrew words. Viamor, Elohim, Yahior. God said, light existed. But here's what'll absolutely blow your mind. This isn't just about illumination. This is about the fundamental nature of reality itself. Modern physics tells us that light electromagnetic radiation is woven into the very fabric of space and time. Einstein's theory of relativity reveals that light is the cosmic speed limit, the universal constant by which all other motion is measured. Light doesn't just illuminate reality. In a very real sense, light defines reality. When God speaks light into existence, He's not just turning on a cosmic light bulb. He's establishing the fundamental laws that will govern the entire universe. He's creating the framework within which everything else will exist and operate. Consider the theological implications. The first thing God creates is not matter, not energy in the conventional sense, but light communication, revelation, the medium through which truth can be perceived and understood. John's Gospel picks up on this theme. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. In Him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. Light, in the biblical understanding, is not merely a physical phenomenon. It's a spiritual reality. It's the principle by which truth is distinguished from falsehood, order from chaos, meaning from meaninglessness. When God creates light, He's creating the possibility of knowledge, understanding, and relationship. God saw that the light was good, and He separated the light from the darkness. Here we encounter something that should stop us in our tracks. God evaluates His creation. The omniscient, all-knowing Creator looks at what He has made and declares it good. The Hebrew word tov, which implies not just functional adequacy, but moral goodness, aesthetic, beauty, and purposeful design. This single phrase revolutionizes our understanding of existence itself. If God declares creation good, then existence is not morally neutral. Reality itself has a moral dimension. The universe is not just a collection of particles moving according to physical laws. It's a moral universe, created by a moral being, with goodness woven into its very fabric. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. God separates the light from the darkness. This isn't just a physical act. It's a metaphysical statement about the nature of reality itself. Light and darkness are not merely physical states. They represent fundamental categories of existence: order and chaos, truth and falsehood, good and evil, meaning and meaninglessness. The separation suggests that distinction, definition, and boundaries are not arbitrary human constructs, but divine principles. God creates by distinguishing, by establishing categories, by drawing lines that define and give meaning to existence. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening, and there was morning their first day. With these words, God creates something that might be even more mind-bending than light itself: time. Before this moment, if we can even speak of before in a temporal sense, existence was eternal, outside of time. But now, with the creation of day and night, with the establishment of evening and morning, God creates temporal sequence. He creates before and after. He creates duration, succession, and the possibility of history. Think about what this means. Time is not just the stage upon which the drama of existence plays out. Time is itself part of the drama. God doesn't just act within time. God creates time as the medium within which His creation will develop, grow, and find its purpose. The phrase "there was evening" and "there was morning" is particularly fascinating. Notice that evening comes before morning. The day begins with darkness and moves toward light. This isn't just poetic language. It's a profound statement about the nature of existence itself. Creation moves from potential to actualization, from chaos to order, from darkness to light. This temporal structure becomes the pattern for all of God's creative activity. Each subsequent day will follow this same rhythm, being intention. Creative word, actualized reality. divine evaluation, and temporal completion. And God said, "Let there be a vault between the waters to separate water from water." So God made the vault and separated the water under the vault from the water above it. And it was so. On the second day, God creates the firmament, the Hebrew rakia, literally meaning something hammered out, like a metallic dome. To ancient Hebrew understanding, this was the sky, the atmosphere, the space between the waters above and the waters below. But regardless of how we understand those first 3 days, the fourth day establishes something crucial: the creation of celestial time. The sun, moon, and stars aren't just sources of light and heat, they're cosmic calendars, establishing seasons, marking festivals, and providing the temporal framework within which human civilization will develop. Notice the multifaceted purpose of these celestial bodies. They separate day from night. They serve as signs to mark sacred times. They mark days and years, and they provide light on earth. Each element of God's creation serves multiple purposes, each intricately connected to the others in a vast, interconnected system. The phrase "to serve as signs" is particularly intriguing. The Hebrew word oath suggests not just practical markers but symbols with deeper meaning, communications from the Creator to His creation. The heavens themselves become a form of divine revelation, declaring the glory of God to every generation. And God said, "Let the water teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the vault of the sky." So God created the great creatures of the sea and every living thing with which the water teems and that moves about in it, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. The fifth day marks a dramatic escalation in the complexity of creation, the introduction of animal life. But notice the language. The waters don't just contain life, they teem with it. The Hebrew word, sharatz, suggests abundance, fertility, and dynamic activity. God doesn't create just a few fish and birds. He creates ecosystems bursting with life, an incredible diversity, and abundance. This is the first time in the Genesis account that the text explicitly says God created 4 plants. God commanded the earth to produce them. But for animal life, God directly creates. This suggests a qualitative difference between plant and animal life, a difference in complexity, consciousness, and perhaps spiritual significance. The great creatures of the sea. The Hebrew Tananam has been translated as whales, sea monsters, or great sea creatures. In ancient Near Eastern literature, sea monsters often represented chaos and opposition to divine order. But in Genesis, these creatures are not enemies of God, they are His magnificent creations, expressions of His creativity and power. The creation of birds introduces the principle of flight, the conquest of the three-dimensional space of the sky. Birds represent freedom, the ability to move between the terrestrial and celestial realms, the bridge between earth and heaven. And again, we see the principle of diversity within order. Each creator according to its kind. God creates not uniformity but magnificent diversity. Each species perfectly adapted to its environment and role in the grand ecosystem of creation. Then God said, "Let the land produce living creatures according to their kinds, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, each according to its kind." And it was so. The sixth day begins with the creation of land, animals, reptiles, and all the creatures that will share the terrestrial environment with the final creation that is yet to come. But notice that this is just the prelude to the main event. The stage is now completely set. Light has been separated from darkness. The firmament has created atmospheric space. Land has been separated from sea. Plants have transformed the earth into a garden of incredible fertility and beauty. The celestial bodies have established the temporal rhythms of existence. The waters and skies teem with life in magnificent abundance. The land is filled with every kind of creature. Everything is ready for the grand finale, the crown of creation, the being who will be created not just to exist within creation, but to have dominion over it, to care for it, to represent the Creator within creation itself. Then God said, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground. So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. And here we reach the absolute pinnacle of the creation account. Everything that has come before has been leading to this moment. The creation of human beings is qualitatively different from everything that preceded it in several crucial ways. First, notice the divine consultation. Let us make mankind. This is the only time in the creation account where God seems to deliberate, to consult, to engage in what appears to be divine counsel. The use of the pluralos has generated countless theological discussions about the nature of God, with many seeing here an early hint of the Trinity. Second, notice the stated purpose. Humans are created in our image, in our likeness. This is absolutely unprecedented. No other creature in the creation account is described this way. Plants are created according to their kinds. Animals are created according to their kinds. But humans are created according to God's kind and his image and likeness. What does it mean to be created in the image of God? This question has occupied theologians and philosophers for millennia. The Hebrew word tselem and demet suggest not physical resemblance but functional similarity. Humans are created to be God's representatives within creation, to reflect his character, to exercise his authority, to care for his creation with his wisdom and love. Third, notice the dominion mandate. Humans are given authority over all other life forms, but this is not arbitrary power or exploitive dominion. This is representative authority. Humans are to rule creation as God would rule it, with wisdom, justice, and care. The creation of humans as male and female introduces another crucial principle: complementarity. Humanity is not complete in isolation, but in relationship. The image of God is reflected not just in individual humans, but in human community, in the relationship between male and female, in the capacity for intimate, loving, committed relationship. God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and increase in number. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and over every living creature that moves on the ground. 10 God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be food for you, and to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food." And it was so. The first divine words addressed directly to human beings are words of blessing and commissioning. Be fruitful and increase in number. This is not just permission to reproduce. It's a divine mandate to participate in the ongoing creativity of God. Humans are called to be fruitful not just biologically, but in every dimension of their existence. Fill the earth and subdue it. This is the cultural mandate, the call to develop civilization, to explore and understand the earth, to harness its resources for human flourishing while maintaining responsible stewardship. Notice something remarkable about the original diet. Both humans and animals are given plants for food. There's no predation, no death, no violence in the original creation. This suggests that the creation account describes not just the historical beginning of the world, but a vision of how the world was meant to be, a world without death, violence, or suffering. This original harmony between humans, animals, and the environment represents the Creator's intention for his creation. It's a vision of perfect ecological balance, of humans living in harmony with the natural world rather than an exploitation of it. By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it, he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. The creation account concludes not with the creation of another thing, but with the creation of sacred time. The seventh day is qualitatively different from the first 6 days. Notice that the text doesn't say there was evening and there was morning the seventh day. The seventh day doesn't end. It's an open-ended day, a day that continues. God doesn't rest because he's tired. The Hebrew word Shabbat doesn't imply exhaustion, but completion, satisfaction, celebration. God rests because his work is finished, because it is complete, because it is perfect. The blessing and sanctification of the seventh day establishes the principle of Sabbath day, rhythm of work and rest, creativity and celebration, productivity and reflection that will become fundamental to human existence and flourishing. But here's what's absolutely profound. God doesn't just create space. He creates sacred space. He doesn't just create time. He creates sacred time. The Sabbath represents the principle that all of existence has a spiritual dimension, that the material world is not separate from the spiritual world but intimately connected to it. So what are we to make of this ancient account? How should thinking people in the 21st century engage with this text? Let me suggest several profound implications that transcend the debates about scientific literalism or ancient cosmology. First, the Genesis account addresses the deepest existential questions that continue to haunt human consciousness. Why is there something rather than nothing? What is the purpose of existence? What makes human life meaningful? Are we accidents of random cosmic forces, or are we here for a reason? Genesis answers these questions with stunning clarity. We exist because God chose for us to exist. The universe is not a cosmic accident, but a divine artwork. Human life is not meaningless but infinitely meaningful because we are created in the image of the Creator Himself. Second, the Genesis account establishes the fundamental goodness of existence. In a world filled with suffering, evil, and meaninglessness, the repeated refrain "and God saw that it was good" is not naive optimism, but profound truth. Despite all evidence to the contrary, existence itself is good because it comes from a good God. This doesn't mean that everything in the world is good clearly. It's not. But it does mean that goodness is more fundamental than evil. That meaning is more fundamental than meaninglessness. That love is more fundamental than hatred. That order is more fundamental than chaos. Third, the Genesis account establishes human dignity and responsibility. If we are created in the image of God, then every human life has infinite value and significance. No one is expendable. No one is worthless. Every person reflects the image of the Creator and deserves to be treated with dignity, respect, and love. But with this dignity comes responsibility. We are not just consumers of creation, but stewards of it. We are called to care for the earth, to exercise dominion with wisdom and justice, to be God's representatives within His creation. Fourth, the Genesis account establishes the importance of rhythm, balance, and rest. The creation of the Sabbath reminds us that we are not machines designed for constant productivity, but human beings created for relationship, reflection, worship, and rest. In our 24/7 culture of constant connectivity and perpetual busyness, the Sabbath principle is not just spiritually important, but psychologically and physically necessary. We need rhythm. We need rest. We need time to step back from our work and remember who we are and why we exist. So here's the question that demands an answer. If the Genesis account is true, if you really are created in the image of God, if your existence really has infinite meaning and purpose, if you really are called to be God's representative within His creation, what will you do with that incredible truth? Will you live as if your life has cosmic significance? Will you treat other people as if they too are created in the image of God? Will you care for creation as if you are responsible to its Creator? Will you seek to understand your purpose and fulfill your calling? Or will you continue to live as if you're just a random collection of atoms that happen to organize themselves into consciousness for a brief moment in an ultimately meaningless universe? The Genesis account doesn't just give us information about the beginning of the world, it gives us a framework for understanding the meaning and purpose of our lives. It tells us who we are, why we're here, and what we're called to do. But here's the thing. This isn't just ancient history. The God who spoke the universe into existence is the same God who speaks into your life today. The creative power that brought order out of chaos, light out of darkness, and life out of non-existence is still at work in the world, still at work in human hearts, still calling people into relationship with Himself. The question is not whether the creation account happened exactly as described in Genesis. The question is whether you will live as if it's true. Will you live as a person created in the image of God, called to a life of meaning, purpose, and relationship with your Creator? Because here's the ultimate truth. The same God who said, "Let there be light," wants to speak light into the darkness of your life. The same God who breathed into Adam the breath of life wants to breathe new life into your spirit. The same God who created you in His image wants to restore that image in you through a personal relationship with Him. The creation account in Genesis is not just ancient literature, it's a personal invitation. It's an invitation to recognize your incredible worth and dignity as someone created in God's image. It's an invitation to discover your purpose and calling as God's representative in His creation. It's an invitation to experience the rest and peace that come from knowing your Creator personally. What will your response be? Will you dismiss this as ancient mythology, or will you consider the possibility that you really are fearfully and wonderfully made by a God who loves you with an everlasting love? The same creative power that spoke the universe into existence is available to speak new life, new purpose, new hope into your existence. But like the original creation, it requires a response. God spoke, and light came into being. God is still speaking. The question is, will you listen? Will you respond? Will you step into the incredible life of meaning and purpose for which you were created? The beginning of everything started with God's creative word. The beginning of your new life can start with your response to that word today. Ready to discover your true purpose and meaning? Don't let this moment pass by. Take the next step in exploring what it means to live as someone created in the image of God. Seek out a local faith community. Open up the scriptures for yourself and begin a conversation with the God who created you for relationship with Him. Your journey into the deeper meaning of existence starts with a single step of faith. Take that step today.